G'day there, it's Tim Longhurst here, and I'd like to take you through a framework that I'm working on. It's a work in progress, and I'm open to your feedback and ideas. Let's see where we take this. I'm quite happy with where it is at the moment, but I know that if I present this on the web, that there's a lot of clever people out there just like you, and perhaps you've got a bit of an idea about where I could improve it, or where you think it's not quite where it needs to be. But the first thing you need to know is that it's all about the three aspects of life that I think, in balance, form a nice trilogy. That is, having an eye on the future, a finger on the pulse, and a seat at the table. And this framework, the purpose of it is to invite people to reflect on where they're looking, where they're living, and what's missing. And so what I'd like to do is just take you through each column in turn. So I'll start with eye on the future, and I'll just fill it in as we're going. So this will only take a second. So the first row is radar, and then signals, and then vision. Don't worry, I'll hold it back up. Okay, so the first part of the framework in terms of eye on the future is this is about where are you looking in terms of where are you getting your information about the world and how it's changing. And so the first part is about your radar. What information are you getting? What books are you reading? Who are you talking to? Who do you trust on various issues? That's your radar. And so basically the purpose of the framework here is to invite you to examine where your information is coming from. The second part is signals, and that's about pattern recognition and how you pick up a picture of how the world is and how it's likely to be in the future. This is about context, and context is the basis on which we make our choices. And so having a rich understanding of the world can lead to a stronger basis on which to make decisions. And finally we arrive at vision, and of course a vision involves a picture of how we imagine the world might be. And I'm looking here, when I think of this framework at the moment, I'm thinking about your utopia. So if everything went your way, how would the world be? And so this is really the column for those of us to reflect on not only how the world is, it's about where we look, it's about what we're noticing, and about what we imagine might be possible. And so now I'm actually going to show you the third column next, because this is if the first side of the diagram is for the dreamers, then this is for the doers. And I like this side. This is quite fun because it's a rhyming column. And the column is the seat at the table. Everyone likes the seat at the table. That's a colloquial expression to describe when people feel that when people have power. You have a seat at the table to make decisions, but it might not be a business table, it might be your family's kitchen table. And so we have here itch, pitch, and stitch. And itch is, well, you might have a vision down here, but itch is about, well, you can't change every aspect of your life and the world at the one time. In fact, really, you have to decide what your big yes is. And that means that essentially with the itch, you've got to work out what is the aspect of your life that if you got that right now, it would have a massive impact. And so what is your big itch that you would want to scratch more than any other itch? And the second aspect is the pitch, and that's how you explain your itch and why it needs to be scratched to others. That's how you get other people on board, and it's how you remind yourself of why this is so important. So it's not just about having an itch to scratch, it's about knowing how you're going to scratch that itch, and that's in the pitch. And then finally, there's the stitch, and finally for this column anyway, and the purpose of the stitch is this is actually truly for the doers, because this is actually where work gets done. And it's important that we spend time getting work done, because that's how we make an impact, but I think for a lot of people, they're all trigger and no rigor, and so they're turning up to work every day and they're making work decisions and they're living their lives, but they don't necessarily reflect on examining what their radar is, what signals they're picking up, and what vision they're trying to contribute to. So that's the purpose of this diagram. So for the people who are stuck over here at the seat at the table, they're invited to have a vision and reflect on their hopes and aspirations for themselves or for their businesses. And on this column, for the dreamers, this is reminding them to stop with so much rigor, it's time to pull the trigger. Now the middle column, this is for everyone, and this is finger on the pulse. And really the purpose of this middle column, which I'm presenting finally, here we go, this column is for all of us, because what we have here with finger on the pulse is a reminder that we have a small world, that small talk can be incredibly powerful, and that we can rely on small change. And the reason that I've chosen those expressions is because what I've noticed is it doesn't matter if you're a dreamer or a doer, what your tendency is. Ultimately, what we need to do when it comes to making change happen and creating impact, what we need is to choose an aspect of the world that we're likely to change and choose a small posse to work with us. And so that's your small world. So the next part is small talk, and that's about having ways of having powerful conversations with people in our lives or in our businesses. But the emphasis is small. It's not about necessarily ramming our ideas down people's throats. It might be that small talk for you means spending 80% of your time listening to stakeholders and only 20% actually doing the talking yourself. And finally, small change. That means a few things to me, but one of the things that it means is not to expect too much of yourself or others. If you've truly got your finger on the pulse, you'll realise that leading a balanced life means it can't be all work and no play. And also, the importance of small change to me is that too often, great ideas don't happen because people are waiting for a large budget to come along before they take the first step. And truly, one of the best ways I know to actually get people behind your idea is to start. And so literally small change might mean making a small change, and it could actually mean literally small change. Like, what could you do to start your ambitious agenda with just a few dollars? Don't wait for $1 million budget to start. Start to rapid prototype. Show people what it is that you imagine by spending, say, I don't know, just a few dollars buying the materials necessary to draw your ambitious agenda. So that's the framework as it is today. And I'm really looking forward to reading your comments, and you can visit my website at timlonghurst.com and comment on the blog, which is timlonghurst.com/blog. I'd love to hear from you, and thanks for taking the time to check out the framework as it is today, version 1.0.